Now, there is one thing you need to know before buying this keyboard. Hello everyone, my name is Dion Schuddeboom. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at the new Apple Magic Keyboard, now with Touch ID. Previously, you could only get this keyboard if you bought a new M1 iMac, whereas now this can finally be bought separately. In this video, I will take you through the unboxing, give you my review, and do a comparison versus the previous model, all to help you decide whether this keyboard is for you. Let's get started. The Magic Keyboard comes in 3 variants. First, there's the version with no Touch ID, which comes in at $99. Then there's the version with Touch ID, which comes in at $149. And finally, there's the version with Touch ID and numeric keypad. This comes in at $179. I opted to go for the version with Touch ID without the numeric keypad, as I prefer the smaller form factor as it takes up less space on my desk. Sliding open the box reveals the Magic Keyboard up front and center. Lifting this up, we find the paperwork, and this includes a quick start guide as well as the warranty information. As is usually the case with Apple accessories, there are no Apple stickers. Next, we have the new Lightning cable. I'm really glad to see this cable is Lightning to USB-C, and additionally this cable is actually braided. In recent Apple products, we've come to see more and more braided cables slowly being added. Perhaps we'll even find these cables included with the next iPhones. Based on my first impressions, this cable looks and feels premium, and hopefully the new design will also be more durable. Of course, since this is a Lightning cable, it can also be used with your iPhone, AirPods, and other Lightning devices. Now for the star of the show. Let's unwrap the keyboard. Peeling off the paper wrapping, which is always good to see instead of plastic, we have the new Magic Keyboard with Touch ID. Taking a closer look at the design, you can see the structure of the keyboard is made out of aluminum, whereas the white keys are made of a flat plastic. Unlike what you get with the colored M1 iMacs, unfortunately, when buying the keyboard on its own, it only comes in silver. There is also no space gray version available. Over on the back is where you'll find the power switch as well as the Lightning port, which is used to charge its built-in battery. This should last 1 month between charges, although in my experience with the previous Magic Keyboard, this actually outlasted Apple's estimates, giving me around 6 weeks of use. The bottom of the keyboard is made out of a matte white plastic, which also has the Apple logo. There are also rubber feet found in each corner, which will effectively keep the keyboard on your desk and stop it from sliding around. Looking at the side of the keyboard, you can see we have this triangular tapered design that we've also come to see on the MacBook Air. And when the keyboard is placed on the desk, this will add a slight angle on your wrists when typing. In my opinion, this comfortable angle strikes a good balance between being completely flat and being angled too high. Holding the keyboard in the hand also shows no flex whatsoever. The keyboard looks premium, feels good in the hand, and is clearly well made, as I'd come to expect at this price point. Taking a closer look at the keys themselves, you can see the top row here consists of various function keys, including some new ones. In addition to the usual volume and brightness controls, we also have a Siri/dictation button, a spotlight button, and a dedicated Do Not Disturb button. And of course, on the far right is Touch ID. Based on its appearance, this looks like it could be a Touch ID sensor from, for example, an iPhone SE, simply placed in a keyboard key. Though the Touch ID sensor does not press in like a key, it does click. Now, there is one thing you need to know before buying this keyboard, and that is in order for the Touch ID sensor to work, you will need an M1 Mac. If you do not have an M1 Mac, the keyboard will still operate, but the Touch ID sensor will not. Having tested the Touch ID on an M1 MacBook Pro, I can say it's performed as you would expect, which is to say very well. You can add multiple fingers and the data is stored on the Mac, not on the keyboard. So how much is it worth having Touch ID on the keyboard? Well, compared to the entry-level non-Touch ID Magic Keyboard, the Touch ID version I have here costs $50 more. To me, as someone who uses Touch ID many times per day on my MacBook Pro, this is very much worth it. Touch ID is reliable and safe. It is also efficient, allowing me to log into my Mac with a quick touch and not having to type in a long password. But what's the keyboard like to type on? To pair the keyboard, simply plug it into your Mac once using the Lightning cable and it will automatically pair. Easy. Typing on this keyboard feels great. To me, as someone who prefers the quick type of a chiclet style keyboard, the Magic Keyboard is a perfect match. Key presses are clicky, giving plenty of feedback. This is what the keyboard sounds like. The keys are also very stable, meaning they can be pressed at any side of the key, not just the center. For this style of keyboard, there is also ample key travel, having more key travel compared to Apple's butterfly mechanism found on older Macs. All in all, I have no complaints of the typing experience. Unfortunately, the keys are not backlit. As someone who primarily uses a MacBook Pro, which has backlit keys, I would have loved to see this carried over to the Magic Keyboard, given the price. If you're watching this and thinking, I like the Magic Keyboard, but I do really need those backlit keys. In that case, I suggest watching a separate video of mine in which I reviewed a keyboard from Sinda, which has backlit keys. I'll leave that video linked at the end of this video so you can check it out after. Now back to the Magic Keyboard. How does this version compare to the previous model, and is it worth the upgrade? Let's find out. Taking a look at both keyboards side by side, the keys in terms of size, feel, and texture appear to be identical. Additionally, both keyboards have the same subtle angle, so will feel the same on your wrists when typing. In terms of dimensions, the keyboards are the same. So at its core, the design is very similar to the previous model, but there are some subtle differences. The new Magic Keyboard has more rounded edges. This even carries over to the tops of the corner keys. Personally, I like the sharper, more cornered edges on the previous model, but looking at the newer model, the more rounded edges do look a little more inviting and perhaps user-friendly, being more in line with Apple's current design language. The new Magic Keyboard, aside from having Touch ID, also has more modern function keys. Looking at the bottom of the keyboard, you can see we have a shiny base on the bottom of the older model, which not only collects fingerprints but also scratches over time. Therefore, I welcome the more matte finish found on the newer one, as I expect this to hold up better over time. So is it worth upgrading? Well, if you already have the previous model, my advice would be to only upgrade if you need Touch ID. These keyboards are expensive, and if you are looking for a more affordable alternative, in addition to the Sinda model I recommended earlier, there are also options from Logitech. However, if you're looking for the ultimate keyboard to pair seamlessly with your M1 Mac in terms of design as well as features, this really is your best option. Additionally, having Touch ID adds an impressive level of integration and ease of use that you will notice each time you use the keyboard and won't find anywhere else. Hopefully this video helped you out with your buying decision. If it did, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more content like this. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or feedback, and I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching, and take care.